There we go. And there we go. All right. Hello, everybody. For those that are going to be watching on the replay, I'll go ahead and give an introduction. Welcome to a kind of an impromptu stream that we kind of came up with last night. I'm joined by, first of all, where is he? He's over here on my side. He's over here. Tom Hyunyady, YouTube royalty.
No, stop it.
Is hanging out with me. Yeah, he had to put his crown away to make it, to come down to my level. But um, Tom is a great guy. We've kind of connected over the last year and a half or so, 2 years.
Right.
I mean, you see Tom. He's always hanging out with his buddy Andy over at the Two Legs podcast, and is often with Joe Mayo and that group in the Beatles world.
Yeah.
But like most people, Tom likes things that aren't the Beatles. Outside. Yes. So he doesn't just listen to Ram every day of the year. And Tom reached out to me last night and was like, "Hey man, I saw that you saw ELO, and I saw him a few days before. Maybe we should do something together." And so it just happened to work out that we were both available this evening. So Tom, welcome to my channel here.
Sam, thank you very much. This is a pleasure. Like you said, we've been, kind of seeing each other, other stream or whatever for like the last year and a half, and I really enjoy what you do and the music, your wide range of music tastes, and I love that. And and you actually get up and you put yourself out there and you sing on live and all that stuff, and I give you credit, man. That's great. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, Tom is always very supportive, and whenever I play music or that kind of thing. Hey, Brimley.
It's up, Starman.
But yeah, we are. The main event here is to talk about a big show that just happened, and it's a tour that's winding down. I think there are a couple of weeks left on the Over and Out tour.
Yep. A few more weeks.
Which is, it's interesting because we never thought that we'd see Jeff Lynne in the 21st century. The one time that we had a glimmer of it, it was before I was a big ELO fan, was back in the Zoom days where, he put out this album that's pretty good. I mean, it's a classic Jeff Lynne sounding record. It was just a little bit past its time at that point.
Right.
And kind of never really went on tour. It was things were kind of set in motion for a tour, and then it was just kind of canceled, and they did like a TV special, I think, with that current formation of ELO for the BBC. And then Jeff kind of disappeared again. He did occasional production for, he did Tom Petty's album in 2006.
Right.
I think he was doing some like one-off tracks, that sort of thing for different artists. But and then in 2014, we get Alone in the Universe, which kind of yeah, Lily, I've never. Tell me, I mean, were you listening to those albums when they came out? Were you excited?
No. Actually, I'm a huge fan of the first, obviously the '70s stuff. I mean, I spent a lot of years listening to ELO. I used to have the 3 CD ELO box set when that came out back in the early '90s. So that was fun. And I pretty much had everything right up into the album before Discovery. Because one, I hate Don't Bring Me Down. I can't stand it. But, um, but then you know what? I picked it up and I love Discovery now. I mean, luckily, Don't Bring Me Down is the last song. Yeah, you have it right there.
Yeah, actually, just picked it up this weekend.
Oh, and plus he plays three songs, off of that album, and two of my favorite. I mean, two of my favorites on that album. But I just been playing this album over and over and over again in my car. Love it, and I'm kicking myself in the ass for never listening to it, all because of one song.
Yeah.
you know. But fantastic song. So when as he's releasing his new stuff, I do remember. I think I did pick up his Armchair Theater album when that came out in the late '80s. Back in the the Traveling Wilbury days.
Yeah.
And that was a decent album. But no, the newer stuff I haven't really checked out.
Yeah, I mean it's classic, Jeff Lynne. I mean, obviously those
Mm,
last two albums he did, Alone in the Universe and then From Out of Nowhere, I think
mm.
in 2018. And then he had that live at Wembley
Right.
DVD and
Yeah, I've
concert
got that. Yeah.
record between, and that was kind of the inspiration to do From Out of Nowhere because he wrote that song Time of Our Life, kind of about the
Mm.
Wembley experience. But let me jump in here real quick.
Yeah.
My buddy Alex here is about to be real negative. First of all, hey Alex. Um, yes, Last Train to London was a big hit with me and my friends that were at the show.
Oh, it was a banger. Let me tell you, that was a banger.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll jump into the set here in just a
Yeah.
second because I think we had the same set.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't think he
Um,
changes anything.
hey Christian, how are you? And Richard, how are you?
Hello
Um,
guys.
yeah, and I
Ladies and
know
gentlemen.
I know Alex is chomping at the bit to talk about this quick tidbit about the back cover there,
Mm.
about who this gentleman. But
Okay.
yeah, do you know who this gentleman is?
No, no.
Okay,
Like I
well,
said, I just got the album not, 2 weeks ago. So,
so if you look at it, it's very hard to tell, but apparently, well, not apparently, it
mhm.
is. Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond
No
is
kidding.
is on the back. He's a very very young 20-something-year-old Brad Garrett. Robert Barone, and apparently he was doing stand up somewhere, and Jeff Lynne saw him and like because he's like 6'6", 6'7",
Right. Yeah.
and Jeff Lynne saw him, thought he was cool, and so he said, "Hey, we need somebody on the back cover there." So it's
Mhm.
Brad Garrett. So this is a fun little piece of music trivia there. But
Mhm.
let's see here. Like the songs
Okay.
from Fun Out of Nowhere, the production is so much. I can see that,
Yep.
but yeah. Um, oh, okay. So I've got thoughts on that too, but I'll get there.
Mm. Okay.
And yeah, so Richard brought Discovery. I'm assuming is what you're talking about.
Week it came
Uh,
out. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's also okay. Brad Garrett. Yeah, so that's one of those little things that nobody knows. But um, so
Mm.
in terms of just like my getting into like ELO, I mean obviously like for those that know me know that first Traveling Wilburys record is a top 10 for me. It was the
Yeah.
album that got me into music of depth, not just greatest hits collections. It got me into Tom Petty, got me into the Beatles even further, and then over time Dylan and Jeff Lynne, who are all favorites of mine. Um, and yeah, and I bought those new albums when they came out in 14 and 18 and
Mm.
absolutely loved them because I was first of all
Nice.
blown away that Jeff Lynne still sounded exactly like Jeff Lynne. I mean, he sounds exactly like himself. And
Mm.
people in the YouTube world love to bash older artists about like, oh, why are they touring? Especially
Right.
you get it all the time about McCartney.
Why are
Um,
they touring? Because they're selling out arenas everywhere. That's why there's a big demand.
yeah, and money is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So
It's
and
kind of nice.
like and yeah, they're not in pain doing it necessarily.
Right.
And if people are buying it, yeah, like you said, why not go?
Right.
And I think one of the things with Jeff Lynne is that he didn't tour for what 30 years, like from the early 80s up until
Right.
2018 when he
Right.
started these tours back up. So it just shows if you don't strain your voice every night, it pretty much
Right.
it works in your favor as a musician. Um, yeah. Hey Emma, how are you? Um, yeah, and I think that's probably gonna be the same for us. I mean, I know Tom was probably crying when he played
Yeah.
"Don't Bring Me Down," and just
Uh,
emotional tears.
uh,
But yeah. So let's
mm.
go ahead then and
Yeah.
jump into the actual show. Was this your first time seeing Jeff?
Yes. Yeah, this was my first time seeing Jeff Lynne's ELO. I guess we got to call it that because
Yeah,
legal terms or whatever. But
yeah.
but so when I was living in Arizona, the first two times that he was touring, I was all in, but he never came to Arizona. So now that I don't live in Arizona anymore, guess where he's going?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, and plus I was doing tour catering back then, so I probably would have worked the show. If he would have came to Arizona in 18 and 19, I think it was.
Hmm.
So, so either way, I probably would have got to see the show, whether I was working it or if I would have bought tickets.
Yeah,
Yeah, so and then I thought that was it, but then once he announced this recent one, I was like, yeah, I gotta go.
yeah.
I'm not going to waste time, and plus I got cheap tickets, so they were nosebleeds, but they were like right in the middle, so I just had like the perfect view. So yeah, first
That
time.
that so that sounds like, I mean you saw my pictures on social
Right.
media, like it probably very similar view. Like we had the full on view of the
Yeah.
the stage set
Yes.
with the spaceship,
Right.
and I
Yep.
mean we were second row in the balcony, so like we were
Okay.
um
Yeah.
you know second row, but we were far away, so we did have like the sound panels that were kind of blocking the screen a little bit, the
Yeah, same
side
here.
screen.
Same here. Yeah.
But we could see the screen in the middle of the spaceship with all the graphics perfectly. That wasn't an issue.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for me, it was a big deal to see Jeff Lynne because I never got to see Tom Petty, and I'm like,
Mm,
Jeff obviously made all those great Tom Petty hits in the late '80s and
right.
early '90s, and was such an integral part of Tom's career, like
Right.
second boom of his career, and yeah, and especially knowing that Jeff still sounded so good based on
Right.
those albums and then just the live footage that I'd seen. I was
Right.
really, really happy to go and to travel the distance into Atlanta.
Right. Um, it helps that Jeff Lynne's ELO songs aren't very strenuous. Yeah, I guess so. But
Yeah,
my uncle who I went with, who is a huge ELO fan, he did see them in 18 and 19 here in Michigan, and he said this time he sounded better than the first two times.
interesting. So
Yeah.
my friend Tommy, who I went with, he saw him on the two tours as well. And he
Hmm.
said, yeah, he said the voice was, it hadn't aged or anything like that since the last two tours. The only difference was
Right.
you could tell. I mean, you can
Yeah.
watch clips from that Wembley show. He's
Right.
standing, he's pretty much standing behind the mic, and you watch
Yeah.
him on that Wembley show, and he's moving a little bit more on the guitar. He's playing the guitar a little bit more gusto, and I think, based on what my friend said, is that he actually did a few leads because obviously Jeff
Mm.
can play lead guitar. He was the lead guitarist
Yeah. Right.
um,
Exactly.
on a lot of those records, and I
That's
mean,
why I was kind of shocked that he did have like two other guitar players up there, because I thought he was going to, do some shredding or what. Just kidding,
yeah,
but I thought he was going to do a few leads as well. But it looks like he was just doing rhythm
yeah,
throughout the night. Oh.
yeah, and that's what I saw. And he switched from a Les Paul to his I'm not sure what kind of acoustic guitar he had. He had two electric guitars, two Les Pauls,
Hmm.
um, and then his strumming was very it was slower, but again he
Right.
didn't look like he wasn't standing up there looking feeble. I mean he wasn't like
Right. Frankie
like
or Frankie Valley up there, and
like Frankie Valli or Phil Collins on the last Genesis tour or anything like that.
yeah, yeah.
Like it was still Jeff Lynne. You looked at him like, okay, he's in good shape for a 76-year-old man.
Hmm.
Um, Still got the Ray-Ban, I mean the aviator glasses on, and his hair's
Right.
dyed, but I mean, you look at him from afar, like, oh, he hasn't aged. But um, yeah, so um, going into the show again, we came from the side, so we could see the side of the spaceship, which is also a different setup from apparently the last couple of tours that he did. And
Mm.
because from what I understand, on the last tours, he was playing some archival footage within the screens. So like he did a tribute
Mm.
to Tom Petty on Handle with Care in the last tour, and they were showing like old Tom Petty Wilbury clips and that kind of thing. Whereas we didn't get that. We
Mm.
just got like the stage
Right.
visuals.
Right. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The funny thing is I was reading like back in, I can't remember if it was 78 or 79, he was here in Michigan, and the concert promoter accused him of lip syncing, which he
Mhm.
has been accused of before, and nothing came of it. But he was just saying, like, the two shows they were like in sync. I mean, they were like perfect. I mean, they ended at the same time. It's just like everything was just like too perfect for it,
Yeah,
to to not be lip syncing. So I mean, it's interesting to hear that, because then he was like talking about how the cello player, there was some kind of something rigged where he just didn't believe that the cello playing was playing at the same time as the music. So that was sort of, yeah, I remember that rumor. Yeah, so there you go. Um,
Hey, Trevor.
and I think that was 79, probably during the Discovery tour.
Yeah, and you could tell, you could tell there was one point on one of the songs. Like, I mean, obviously that goes through our heads. I mean, there was the big, um,
Mm,
Don Henley fiasco that came out a few months ago that the Eagles were lip syncing, and especially Don Henley,
right.
and because he's known to be a perfectionist. And
Yes.
but there were a couple of times during the ELO show the other night, or Jeff Lynne's ELO, where the song had started, and you could tell Jeff was like a half second behind. And so it's
Mm,
like, oh, well, he semi missed the cue, or like he's like the way that the voice was, he was fitting in more words so
right.
that it fit into where the music was going, because the music wasn't going to stop.
Right.
So I'm like, he's not lip
Right.
syncing. He's that
No,
good.
I yeah, I never felt like he was lip syncing this show, because then what the vocalist behind him too was helping with a verse or two. I think 2 songs he actually helped out
On Do
for a
Ya.
verse.
Yeah, Do Ya, he
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So and I wasn't upset by that. I mean, I was fine with it. But when you go to see an act like Jeff Lynne, you want him to do all the singing. You don't really want to
Right.
hear other people singing. But again, 76, like you said, and if he is like a little step behind, then you have to have someone there to help out a little bit.
Yeah, and from what I understand, again, my friend that I went with, he's even a bigger fan than I am, I would say, definitely a
Mm,
bigger fan. And he kind of like put that to rest about the second vocalist. Apparently that was what Jeff was doing in the 70s. Like on Do
okay.
Ya especially, he always
All
reverted
right.
for the last verse to one of his guys in the band.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
just that's just what he's always done. It wasn't obviously on the album, it's only Jeff singing. Um,
Right.
but apparently
Yeah,
that's
but
his thing.
he's got a lot of studio help in this, for those albums.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Um,
So
so yeah, again, so it was brought up earlier. Going in, um, I my expectations were high because it's Jeff
yeah,
Lynne.
yeah,
All I'd
yeah.
heard from different people. I know from my buddy Alex, who's in the chat, from Emma, who's in the chat, um,
Mhm.
and other friends who saw it before this tour. Everybody was raving about the sound and how good the
Yeah.
sound is going to be. Because again,
Yeah.
you listen to those Jeff records of anything that he touches, and it's clean. That's one of his biggest criticisms with critics and music people. Like, oh, it's a Jeff Lynne production. It's too, it takes away the rawness of,
Right.
like the Roy Orbison record, those Tom Petty records.
Well, even the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles are like, I saw Eagles in '95 during that Hell Freezes Over tour. I mean, they, besides that new arrangement they did for Hotel California, everything else was exactly like the record.
Right. And like every single nuance was there. And again, you go to some artists. I mean, again, I'm a big Bob Dylan fan. I've seen Dylan
Hmm.
6 times. It's never the same in terms of like, he might do the
Right.
same song at all 6 shows, but it's not going to be the same. But there are some artists where that's what, like, you want, a Paul McCartney to play, his songs the way that you remember them because he's Paul McCartney, and you
Right.
want Jeff Lynne to play those songs like that because he's Jeff Lynne. Like those hit makers. Dylan isn't necessarily a hit maker. Neil Young, like that, like they're kind of the art. Like the art is,
Oh yeah.
the
Oh
ever
yeah.
evolving
I mean,
thing.
I was fortunate to see Neil Young earlier this year too. Right before, it's funny because we saw him here in Michigan, and the next show he was in Chicago, and he canceled the rest of the tour. So we made it by a day. So luckily got to see him
Yeah,
again, and that was a fantastic show as well. It was
yeah,
cut a little short, unfortunately, because it took a little time for him to say that apparently he hit a physical wall, so that's why he cut that tour short, I
yeah.
guess.
That's what I heard. But I know that he just recently he did like that little benefit with Steven Stills
Right.
and John Mayer
Right.
and those
Farm
guys.
Aid as well.
Yeah, he came back to Farm Aid.
Right.
But yeah, again, going in, I knew it was going to be a clean, like the
Right.
performances were going to be,
Right.
spotless. And it just
Right.
came down to, how Jeff was feeling with his voice that night. I knew the band was going to be good. And then, just the stage setup alone, I was like, okay, now I'm really, kind of bubbling here with excitement to see the logo, the ELO, and the cursive handwriting and all of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and then the people obviously like trickling in, so it's really starting to fill up. And even like the opener Rooney who came out and they played for about 45 minutes.
Did you
Um,
watch any of that?
the
Did you watch
opener,
any of that? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the guys that I'm with, we're all of us are early concert guys. Like we get there,
Right.
to
Yeah.
to see everything. Um,
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I knew Rooney. I know their first album was really big in the early 2000s.
Mm.
And obviously the lead singer, his brother is Jason Schwartzman, the actor.
Oh.
So
Okay. So he's a disciple
yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah. He's
or
got some,
family member, I guess.
and you can, and once you see him, you're like, oh yeah, sure. He's got thick beard and his hair is dark. He looks like a Schwartzman.
Right. Right.
Um,
Mm.
so I thought it was cool. I mean, they had some crunchy kind of guitar sounds, and
Right.
I knew a couple of their songs. My sisters were fans of theirs when we were kids.
Mm.
I think he was in a Jason, the guy from Rooney was in an Anne Hathaway movie in the early 2000s. So
Mm.
he had a following. So that was cool. Obviously, like you see an opener for somebody huge like that, you're like, all right. Toward the end, you're like,
Right.
okay, I really want to see Jeff Lynne. And so, yeah, especially during the stage turnover, like, when there's the 20-25 minutes
Yeah.
between opener and Jeff, that's when you can really hear the playlist over the
Yes.
speakers.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess first I want to hear what you thought. I mean, it sounds like you noticed it, and Alex mentioned in the comments that it was all Jeff Lynne production playing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tom Petty, yeah, 12 Ring Wilburys. So I mean that's what I heard because I was also, conversing with my uncle at the same time too. So like whenever time I did, and that's an interesting point. I didn't put that together. Yeah, that all the songs that were playing were pretty much produced by Jeff Lynne. So that's interesting.
Because
Yeah.
they played, Anything You Want by Roy Orbison. They played Got My Mind Set on
Right.
You.
Yes.
I
Full
think
Moon
they
stuff from Full Moon Fever.
I think they played Cheer Down,
Yeah.
maybe. Might have been,
Yeah.
or When We
No,
Was Fab.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, played yours they played You're So Bad from
Yeah. I Won't Back
Full
Down
Moon
played
Fever.
like
I
all.
Won't Back
So,
Down. Yeah, yeah. I think they
so
did Handle Me with Care too.
yeah, yeah. I know they
Yeah.
did. They did Last Night from the first album too, which is a deeper cut.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
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 Um.
Yeah.
So Alex mentioned that he thought that was tacky. Now, my opinion on that is, and again, I mean, I've seen the bigger artist as well, and both times that I've seen McCartney to bring him back in the picture, he's always playing like his deep cuts that he's not going to play. Um,
Right.
and I remember specifically the first time I saw him, which was on the Out There tour. I think the last song was No More Lonely Nights that was playing, and then it
Is it
got
playing
loud.
right? Right.
And I think that that's cool. Like I think it's cool when you're that kind of an artist, like a legend status, and you can bring in those
Mhm.
songs that you could fill another 3-4 hours show with. That's the music. I mean, it's another thing if it's like some of these smaller bands that are playing like
Right.
music. You know,
I didn't feel that it was tacky at all. If anything, it was getting me more excited for the show.
hmm
Mm.
yeah, because I mean, all those songs have Jeff on the background vocals and everything.
Right.
Um, okay, so. Well, I wish he was a little more audacious, even using just his own stuff. Nothing from the idle racer move. Yeah, but I guess the thing, I mean, I get it, but you also want to get the audience excited.
Yeah, I
Is the
mean,
big thing.
no one's going to see ELO because he was in the move for two albums, okay? Um, all right. I mean, yeah, sure. And I'm being a little sarcastic. I mean, yes, okay. There's some fans that know that he was in the move, okay? And plus,
Yeah,
he does do ya, okay? So it's not like he's not acknowledging the move. But I mean, there are a lot of young people that were there. I saw a lot of young people there, and I hardly doubt that that they knew he was in a band called The Move. So again, these are things that the hardcore fans like us are going to maybe say, but we have to realize that uh, these musicians, they're not out there for the hardcore fans anymore. They're out there to make new fans, and that's just my opinion.
there you go, Tom.
Too late, buddy. Too late.
Um, let me see. I remember those songs being played in between Danny and ELO. Yeah, yeah. And see,
Mm,
what the cool thing about Danny, and again, my friends and I that went have had a talk because I learned early on that he wasn't doing Handle with Care anymore.
mm.
And I was dying to hear Handle with Care played
Yeah.
because obviously when Danny did it, I mean, how cool would that have been? You know,
Oh yeah.
Danny, you're standing there looking like George, singing George's parts with Jeff Lynne. It's like, okay, you kind of have kind of two Wilburys ish,
Right.
doing a
Right.
Kevin Wilbury song. But the thing is, and I can kind of accept it now, is that this was a tour. It was over and out to ELO, and so he just
Right.
really he did ELO's music. He didn't do Handle with Care. He didn't do
Yeah.
other move tracks or anything like that.
Right.
So
Right. And you know what? And I was fine without hearing Handled Care. Um, I mean, just because he's got so many other hits.
yeah,
I was kind of hoping for some other,
Mama Mabel,
Ma Belle. Yeah, I was kind of hoping for that, or Bluebird is Dead, or some other deep cuts. So Fine, I think is a
yeah,
fantastic
they're
song.
fine.
Confusion from Discovery. I would have loved to have heard. But what we got here is just is the essential stuff. This
Yeah,
is why you want to see an Jeff Lynne. In my opinion, I was really happy with the set list.
yeah, and that's the thing. You're gonna be happy when you
Yeah.
go, even if he doesn't play everything, because he could play more.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it was a really quick show. This was like what, an hour and a half
Yeah, it's
show.
timed
You know,
perfectly. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And you see, I mean, it starts right on time, 9:05, and I mean, and you see this when because I can't, I have to have the spoiler. I can't wait. I'm not patient. I have to see the set list.
Oh, I can't do it. I've got to let it be a surprise. But you've got it pulled
Yeah.
up. You got it pulled up.
Yeah. I got it pulled up. So he opens with the One More Time, which is a track that I wasn't familiar with.
Hmm.
Um, which I'm fine with because I'm always looking. I'm not one of those that needs to hear every hit when I
Yeah,
go see a musician. You know what?
yeah, me
I
too.
do like it if they play something off color. I mean, not off color, but off of a deep cut or an
Yeah,
album that I'm not familiar with.
yeah,
And then then you get then there was a string of what, four songs that Evil Woman was great. No, so I will tell you that the first four songs for me, for my show, he was a little wobbly.
yeah.
Um, and then when it got to the fifth song, he was good. He was
It was
good,
Jeff
great for the
Lynne.
rest of the
Yeah.
night. Yeah. So then Evil Woman goes into Do Ya, and then the first real highlight for me, song four, was Showdown. It was just like when
Oh,
I found out that he was doing Showdown, I was like, yes, this is,
yeah,
you know, because it's a favorite of mine. So,
yeah,
what do you think of those first four?
yeah. And it was funny because, like, again, I know those last two records so well, the two that he put out. But for some reason, when he played One More Time, which is from the last record,
Hmm. Okay.
it didn't register to me that was like, oh yeah, that was one of the new ones. It was just because it
Mm,
fits right in with everything, because it's Jeff Lynne.
right.
But yeah, and then
Right.
like immediately, the strings kick in the Evil Woman, and like the lights kind of go
Yeah.
orange and red, with like the evil feel to it, and it's got the graphic. Um,
Right.
and like yeah, like you said, kind of wobbly the first couple of
Right.
songs, but again, that's to be expected. You're playing in these huge, 25,000 seaters. Sound
Right.
check and showtime are different because the audience are, the sound is going to be different.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, Showdown was fantastic.
Yeah.
And what was the other one that you mentioned?
So yeah, One More Time, Evil Woman, Do Ya, and then Showdown were the
Dewey,
first four. Yeah.
Dewey was a Dewey was a highlight for me of the whole evening. Not the
Mm,
top moment for me necessarily. It was close,
right.
but when that guitar started crunching in, and they hit that, bow, when they kind of go down the neck,
Right. Yeah.
and then because they all fit in with the drum, where they're going,
Hmm.
and then you never
Right.
saw nothing like it. Just
Right.
that's when I was like, this is freaking Jeff Lynne,
Yeah.
like, and the lasers were going. I'm like, man, that's him,
Right.
man. Yeah,
Right. So track five is like, it's just like one of my new favorite songs, because again, I skipped on Discovery. Last Train to London. I love the song. I mean, I don't care. I mean, you can call it a disco album if you want, because it is. I mean, essentially is. But I
Yeah.
mean, he's got everything working with this track, and I absolutely adore it. Yeah, the next three, then you got "Believe Me Now," "Stepping Out," and "Rockaria," which again that was the instrumental, right? Or was that
Yeah, yeah, you
10
had the
538 hour overture?
yeah, you had yeah, Believe Me Now was like a quick little like interlude kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Right.
Um, and then yeah, Stepping Out was really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
1038 Overture was just awesome. It's the first song from the first
Right.
album. I thought
Right.
hearing that, I'm like, that that sounds vocally the most like any of this, like most like the record for any of the other songs up to that point. Because
Hmm.
that's kind of a higher song, like the first note, like, did you see her
Right.
face? And then
Right.
the heavy on the strings. I just, yeah, I loved hearing that. I just thought it was so good. Um,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah. That was great. And then you had a great three-track run there: "Strange Magic," "Sweet Talking Woman," and "Can't Get It Out of My Head." Which, again, I mean, those are highlights. Highlights. I mean, just amazing. Um, all three songs are fantastic. And they were just, by this time they were, I mean, they could have done no wrong in my book at this point in time in the
and
show.
Strange Magic, apparently he left out of the last tour. So my friend who saw
Oh.
him, he hadn't seen Strange Magic before.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and then Sweet Talking Woman may have been my favorite of the night.
Hmm.
Maybe. But that's just such a great song. It's one that, it's not played on the radio as much these days, but
Right.
it's just that, he's got
Yeah.
that high falsetto in some of those parts. You got me running, you got me
Yeah.
searching. It's
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
good.
Fire and High, I mean, I know I've heard it before, but wasn't that 100% familiar with it. But then, the rest of the show after that, then you got Living Thing, which is another track that I used to love, or still do love. And Telephone Line again was
That's
another
my favorite
highlight.
ELO song. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do like All Over the World. I think that was from the Time album.
Yeah.
And then that was good. And then obviously, Turn to Stone. And then another favorite from Discovery, Shine a Little Love, the opening track. Fantastic.
Which
Fantastic.
he just completely brought in, he just honed in on the disco thing because they
Mm,
had the disco ball showing
yeah.
on the screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then the last track. So he ends the regular set list with the title, or the first track from Discovery, and then the last track from Discovery.
Yeah.
"Don't Bring Me Down."
Yeah.
And you know what? And by this point, even though there's, that's 19 songs, it felt really quick. I don't
Yeah.
know if you felt like that way too, but it did feel really quick. And then obviously they goes off stage for what, 5 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then, and I was really happy that they did the musical outro of Mr. Blue Sky. I was really
Yeah.
happy, that they just don't do the song. They also do the musical outro as well. So
Yeah.
that was
Well,
good.
because it culminates with like, the voice box, like the very last time he says Mr. Blue Sky, that final
Right.
time, and then, like the drums crash, and that's
Yeah.
it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
so like,
Uh
yeah, you don't get Jeff for like the last 45 seconds of that song singing. It's just the instruments.
right. Right, right. But I'm great with that. I thought that was awesome. And no, unfortunately, no Diary of Horace Wimp, but great
No.
track as well. Great track
Also,
as
yeah,
well.
also Discovery. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
but
I mean, they could have played the whole Discovery album, and I would have been fine with
and
it.
that's what we were saying after the show. He's one of those guys. He could add another 20 minutes to the show, but
Oh, easy. Yeah.
would that be too long of a show? I mean, for the regular fans that are there hearing the FM hits, it might be.
No,
Because
because yeah, because again, there's other tracks too, like, Confusion and Minor Hits. It was so fine. Well, as well. There's other tracks he could have played.
yeah,
Again, something from Armchair Theater, or because he did have a hit. I'm forgetting the name of that song off the top of my head, but and then, Handle Me with Care, Handle with Care. He
Yeah.
could have done that too. But again, what was it? 19 songs.
Yeah.
You would, I would guess if I was someone who ended up paying like $200-300 to get really close uh to the stage, I would have been a little teed off with that.
Hmm.
Um, but then in the long run, it was just like, you know what? $40. I had a fantastic night. I spent it with my uncle. And that was great. That
Yeah.
was great.
No, and I get it too. I mean,
Mm,
he doesn't say much during the thing. I mean, I think he's been saying it every show. He's thanking the crowd for all the years of support,
right.
which is probably pretty much the most he talked, other than introducing the musical director who introduced the whole band.
Right.
And it was really cool that the crowd, at least in Atlanta, I'm sure in Michigan,
Yeah.
gave him a huge, like when he's like like thank Jeff
Oh
Lynne
yeah.
for all the years,
Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and because I mean Jeff has constantly said that he was very concerned when ELO regrouped, as it were, in Hyde Park,
Right.
um, after the Zoom fiasco, where like they said, ELO, we want you to play at
Right.
Hyde Park. He was scared to
Right.
death about that because their last tour was essentially canceled. He's like, I don't know
Mm,
how people are going to like ELO music in 2014.
right. Well, the three successful tours. I mean, that should be your answer right there.
Yeah, yeah, and
You
sold out
know,
Wembley.
yeah, and the fact that if he's not in good health, then I can understand. But if he wanted to, I'm sure in two years, if you felt up to it, he could do another tour, and I'm sure it would be just as successful. However, you really can't, because you're calling this over and out,
Over and out.
and and only Kiss go back on their
Yeah,
on their word, so.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, that's cool. Yeah, but
okay. Very
that guy
cool.
was really good. Um,
Oh yeah. Listen,
I mean,
every single musician was fan, and the female singer too.
oh my
Forgot
word,
her name. Oh wow.
she hit those like operatic notes,
Yes.
on Rock
Yes.
Aria.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
just pitch perfect. And yeah, all of them. I think the bass player, I think he played with John Anderson for a few years from Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he has chops.
Hmm.
And obviously, like during the 2018 show, you had Richard Tandy, the original keyboard player, played at that show, but
Mm.
he unfortunately died earlier this year. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, obviously, it is literally Jeff Lynne's ELO. It's Jeff Lynne with some
Right.
top notch touring musicians, and I just yeah, I can't say enough
Right.
good things. I mean, I'm still on a high from this thing.
Yeah. Now, if Jeff Lynne was a part of that EL2 from the '90s, maybe I would have,
Yeah,
you know, saw that. But I once when I found out that Jeff Lynne wasn't part of that ELO2, I didn't want any part of it.
yeah, you had that, and you had the orchestra, which were like another offshoot of the band.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, and then thankfully they got their due a few years ago, but finally getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which hard to believe it took
Mm,
them that long. Which
right.
isn't that hard to believe. We don't Um,
Right.
but him and Roy Wood are both there. I think Bev Bevan,
Bev
um,
was, I think, I don't,
he
was
was
he
not
there or
there.
not?
No,
He
him
was
and
not
Jeff.
there. Okay.
He hasn't talked to Jeff in I think like 30 years. Um,
Mm,
but no, I mean, again, did it necessarily give me a new appreciation for ELO? No, but it cemented the fact that Jeff
yeah.
has just this perfect sound with everything that he does, whether you love it or hate it. And that's what we
Right.
were. We went record shopping before the show, and the last place we went, the record store owner, I had that one. I had New World Record and Out of the Blue that I was buying. They were
Right.
all clean records that I didn't have on vinyl, and he's like, "Yeah, it's like
Hmm.
that's the best ELO starter pack right there." And he's like, and he was kind of like a long haired kind of dude, probably
Right.
like metal was like his number one music. He's like, for years I kind of discarded ELO. He said, but I don't know why I did. And that I've heard
Right.
that from a bunch of different people that it was a
Yeah.
guilty
And you
pleasure.
said it. Yeah. You said you were right on. It's just like, it's not that, we already appreciated ELO, right? Or Jeff Lynne. So yeah, seeing him now, it really just cemented the fact I mean, we have well, I mean, in a way, I kind of do have a new appreciation a little bit because I've never seen him live. I didn't know how he was as a live performer. All I knew was like the accusations of him being lip syncing during the show. So seeing this, it was definitely a highlight of my year for sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I mean, I've been to, a bunch of shows now, and I mean, I'm still like this one. This one is creeping, top five territory for me. I mean, it was that good.
Mm, cool.
Um, I mean,
Great.
I didn't know all the words to all the songs. I mean, I've been,
Right.
again, McCartney shows. I know all the words. I've seen, the Avett Brothers. I know all the words, but
Yeah.
um,
They're on my list. I need to see the Avett Brothers, and I will get there. I will get
and
there.
they tour so much you shouldn't. Yeah, you won't have a problem.
Yeah.
They'll do 1-2 night
Right.
stands, out of venue.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, even I've seen Paul Simon. I know all the words. I didn't know all the words for
Right.
all the ELO songs, but just the tightness of the band, the harmonies, Jeff's voice just blowing my socks off at 76 years old. It all just it worked perfectly for that particular moment in time, and it just I'm still going back and
Right.
watching my videos that I took and listening to the recordings on on the records.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
but was your I see you have a shirt. Was that official
Yeah.
merch, or were you able
Yeah,
to?
yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And you were talking about going early. Now, this is the reason why I go early is because I want to get I did get another shirt, but it's upstairs. So, but yeah, so I ended up getting two shirts and look, I've got a lot of experience where sometimes extra large shirts they go quick,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of us fatties out there, that need an extra large shirt. But I'm teasing. But so yeah, I love to get a concert shirt. And when I was working a lot of when I was working shows, when I was a catering chef, I'd always go, I always got there before they let the audience in, so I was able
Yeah.
to always get shirts, so but yeah, I love getting concert shirts, and I got Morrissey next month, so I'm definitely
Mm.
gonna go there and get this will be my fourth time seeing Morrissey, so I'm really
Wow.
excited about that. And yeah, I'll be in line to get another shirt there too. Did you get a shirt?
I got a shirt, but I got mine from a gentleman outside. Wink, wink.
Mm,
But the reason was because the line. I mean, we got there. We got to the venue at 7. The show was at 8. Well, at least the opener was at 8.
right.
And the tickets also that the gates were opening at 6:30.
Okay.
There were not a lot of people inside the venue at 6:30, and so we took an Uber and we got in line. We probably had 500, 600 people in line in front of us. And by the time we got inside, I mean, the merch line was just wrapped
Yep.
around the bottom. And there was a merch stand on the upper level where we were. And I probably could have gone over there, but just from glancing, there wasn't anything that caught my eye that was there. I mean, I'll probably go
Hmm.
back online and find something later, but I
Right.
got this shirt outside, which is a cool design. It's kind of got like that
That is kind of cool.
it's like that 1970s kind of like poster look,
Yeah.
The
Right.
and it's like we got it, it was $20. But the thing is, and you don't realize this till the next day or the next 2 days. So yesterday I was unpacking from the trip because I got home yesterday morning at about 10:30. I flew back from Atlanta,
Mm,
and I was looking at some of the dates on the back here. And again, only the people that were nerds like me would know this, but I noticed that it said Atlanta, Georgia twice. And they didn't play 2 nights,
mm.
and not only that, but it was Atlanta and the first and last column of the shirt. And the very first date that they
What?
have is a little place called Leesburg, Virginia, which is a suburb of DC. Um,
Mm,
so they also have DC on here. And so I was thinking, like, how did they come up with Leesburg, Virginia, which is in Loudoun County? And so
mm,
I pulled up my phone. I was like ELO Leesburg, and apparently, like in January this year, there was an ELO tribute band in Leesburg. And so the dude who was making these shirts, in his basement, 2 nights ago, was like,
wow.
like, oh, Leesburg, ELO, boom, next date. So I've got the
Right.
good stuff right here, but it's hopefully it lasts a couple of times in the washing machine. Um,
Right.
so um, anyway,
That's great. That's great.
yeah, James went to the Hyde Park
Yeah,
gig, the reunion show.
that's awesome. Yeah, and he saw Crowded House the other day too. Yeah. I do remember Crowded House from the 80s and into the 90s. I do like Crowded House.
Yeah, and Neil Finn, he's one of those guys whose voice sounds pretty good too. I mean, he's in his
Mm,
mid 60s because he was one of the two that took over for Lindsey Buckingham and Fleetwood Mac.
mm.
Him and
Oh,
Mike
that's
Campbell.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
in
Yeah.
like
Speaking
2018.
of Fleetwood Mac, did you see Stevie Nicks on Saturday Night Live this
I watched
past
the
weekend?
clips. I watched the clips.
Yeah,
Yeah, and she had Waddy
yeah,
Wachtel still with her
yeah,
on the
yeah,
tour.
yeah, yeah. I didn't realize that he got into some trouble many years ago until I read up on it. But
Oh, really?
yeah, I won't say for what,
Mm.
but yeah, it was she was good. She still sounds good, but you can tell, everybody's aging. They don't have the same, voice as the golden days.
Yeah, you know. But again, it goes back to the whole thing of, like as long as they're out there doing it, and if you want to spend the
Yeah.
money to see them, I don't fault them at all. I know my friend that went with me, Tommy. He saw John Sebastian a few years ago, and if you
Mm,
follow John Sebastian at
okay.
all, he
Right.
had throat cancer or something that completely just shredded his voice. His
Mm,
speaking voice is still pretty good, but his singing voice, he's not himself at all. But there were great stories apparently,
right.
and he's playing the guitar and like the dulcimer and everything, and doing his thing, and he enjoyed it.
Mm. Did Jeff look frail? I mean, no more than any other 76-year old.
Right? Yeah, yeah. He's not going to be
Mm.
like Bruce Springsteen sliding on his knees like back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. He's not
Um,
going to be running a marathon anytime soon or anything.
no, and
So.
some of these people. I mean, like when I think frail, like I think like Brian Wilson on those last few tours. I
Oh,
think
good. Yeah, yeah,
Um, even to an extent, there are a few times where Bob Dylan's looked frail, but I mean, he's come back. But again, once you hit, 70, 75, I mean,
yeah.
you can walk out on stage by yourself, sing all the songs, play guitar. I mean, but no, I don't think he didn't look like he was, super thin, and
Right, right.
he seemed completely,
No,
completely there.
right. And I don't know if he's doing any UK dates or not. It would be a shame if it was just the US and he didn't do any, UK dates for this Over and Out tour.
Yeah. I think there's rumors. I think he said that they're going to be over there, but they haven't announced anything. I think the Royal Albert Hall, there might be some buzz that they might be a night or two
Yeah.
there. Um, so hopefully he
Mm,
does, and hopefully it's
okay.
hopefully it's really successful that he keeps going.
Right. Hmm. Yeah. So I mean, every news clip that I see from the following day have glowing reviews for the shows. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, like I've never once. I mean, there are artists that I've seen for years, on YouTube or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, that looks like they're
Mm.
they're lip syncing. They've got some piped in vocals and that kind of thing. The Eagles being a prime example. Frankie Valli, obviously, he's big in the news right now.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah. There's
which is
yeah.
I've been noticing that for 10 years from Frankie Valli, but I know it's been much longer.
Mm,
But I've never
right.
once thought that Jeff Lynne had that going on. Not once. I mean,
Mm.
even Tom Petty, as much as I love Tom Petty, he had it on Free Fallin' to hit that big note.
Oh,
Um,
did he? Mm.
yeah. He sang most everything else, but Free Fallin' was one he got some help on the back on the
Yeah. Well, yeah. When I did see Kiss, when I was still in Arizona, Paul Stanley was definitely after the two. So I guess the way they had it rigged is it's like he'll do like the first couple songs, and then the sound guy will decide whether or not that he needs help or
Oh gosh,
not.
man.
So, you go from, struggling on a song like, Love Gun, and then, I Was Made for Loving You, and then like he's doing it perfectly then. It's like
Yeah,
something is
yeah,
something is amiss, so he was definitely lip syncing for the rest of the show,
yeah.
you know. So,
Which, yeah, it goes into a whole other conversation of, like even now, like, can we even fully trust that the older artists aren't doing it anymore? I mean,
Right. Right. Good point. Yeah.
it's nothing for current pop artists and to have the backing track. I mean, rappers have been doing it for years,
Mhm.
and like a lot of times, these artists come out on stage, they don't have a band. It's literally just the pre-recorded stuff with piped in
Mhm.
backing vocals and including their own vocals on that. But
Right.
when you go to see a harmony band, whether it's the Eagles or the Beach Boys or back in the day Crosby, Stills and Nash, like you want to hear their vocals there at that moment. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I think I don't like, obviously I don't want to go to a Willie Nelson show or a Bob Dylan show and hear clean vocals. Like I don't need that.
Yeah.
But
No. No, and you got a good point there. I mean, there's certain artists where, their vocals can be rough and it's still going to be a great show.
yeah, or Neil Young. Like you don't want to see Neil Young sing, crystal clear.
No. No, and he didn't. And it was
Yeah,
still fantastic.
yeah, but
When he starts belting out Powderfinger, I don't care if he's got a cold or it's just,
yeah,
he hits just as long as he gets the words right. That's all I care
yeah.
about, you know.
Yeah, which is that's kind of how I was. I mean, I'll bring back Brian Wilson. I mean, because I saw him in
Yeah.
2016 doing Pet Sounds, and he was still pretty good. I mean, I know the people that didn't
Mm,
follow Brian Wilson, the casual, Barbara Ann kind of Beach Boys fans.
mm,
They're like, Brian wasn't even playing the piano, blah blah blah. It's like, well, he sits there for his comfort, because he's
right,
behind the instrument. But vocally, he came out and he opened with Heroes and Villains, and I was like, that sounds pretty good for 2016 Brian Wilson. Like I
right,
know he's not going to sound like Surfer Girl Brian Wilson, like he hasn't since
right,
1966. So
right.
um, let's
Oh,
see.
4 times, not bad.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about Jeff, that he has changed the set from each tour. So it's been a different tour every time you've seen him. And even this tour, I mean, he had a couple of tracks that he replaced with other tracks, and he just completely dropped the track from like the first four
Hmm.
dates on this tour.
Right.
Um, yeah, Milli Vanilli. Yeah.
I listen. I was, believe it or not, I was a huge Millie I loved that first album.
Yeah.
Loved that first album. And then I did see that, and I was just like, I was laughing. I was
Yeah.
laughing. But no, I mean, obviously they've been lip syncing on variety shows or like Top of the Pops or like Solid Gold, all those, shows. Uh, People lip sync on those. So
Yeah. I mean,
American
that was going
Bandstand.
on. I mean, you see those old
Yeah,
clips of like, the Mamas and the Papas where, Michelle Phillips is eating a
right,
banana
right,
or even like, I'm an Oasis fan. Like when Liam and
right.
Noel switch roles and,
Mm,
Noel was singing the Liam part, through the pipe vocals. Um,
okay.
but um, yeah, I mean, again, that's been Brian Wilson since the 70s, really.
Mm.
But
So did you get tickets for Oasis? You gonna
I
go?
did. I did get tickets
You
to Oasis.
did?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
going
good
to
for you. Mm,
East Rutherford is where I'm seeing them in Jersey.
mm,
Um, and I've
okay.
never been up that way, so that's going to be cool. It'd be neat to meet up with a couple of the New York YouTube folk. Like,
Right.
I'd love Robert S. and I have been saying for years that we're wanting to do something together.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Robert
Robert,
S. is great. Yeah.
yeah, he's up there. I know Tim is up there. All those guys are
Yeah.
up there. Obviously, East Rutherford's not exactly New York, but
Mm,
um, again, I'll be up there, and it's over Labor Day weekend in August. So, like, I'll have that Monday off at least, and can make a
okay.
long weekend out of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, August 31st next year.
Mm,
And the ticket wasn't astronomical. I mean, I was surprised because I went in with general sale like that
mm,
Friday, 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. And when I got in the
right.
queue on Ticketmaster, there were only like 900 people in front of me,
Mm,
which was I was like, that's pretty good
right.
for
And that's for all the shows, right? That just wasn't for one show.
yeah, everything went on sale at one time. Um,
Yeah. So every show, because what it was, what 5 dates or something like that?
So yeah, originally, I mean, they announced the UK like over. It was like
Mm,
Wales, the UK, I mean, England.
right.
They had a few dates over there, and then they
Yeah.
originally had 5 dates or 5 cities here, but they added second dates to all of them.
Okay.
except for
Okay,
Chicago.
gotcha.
I don't think because Soldier
Right.
Field was the first place that I was looking to go because I figured like less
Oh,
people
really?
are going to be
Yeah.
trying to get to Chicago. Like obviously Jersey, you're going to have the New York people. It's going to be a higher demand. But you sign up for the pre-sale. You're supposed to get like the lottery, code. I didn't get it, so I was like,
Okay.
I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark and try to
Right.
go general sale. And when I logged in, it said, I made it in 960 in line. I'm thinking like, okay, there's gonna be third party. Like I'm gonna be, $300 for nosebleeds here. And I was able to get. I mean, I'm still in the nosebleeds, but I mean, after fees, it was like 120.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's a normal
Yeah.
concert ticket. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
That's
But I mean,
that
it's
is a
at
normal
MetLife,
concert
so I'm
ticket.
going to be high. But
Right.
um,
Yeah, and that place is massive. Or it's huge. It's big.
yeah,
There's gonna be a lot of people.
yeah, a
I'm
lot
I'm
of,
excited for you. I mean, I've had their albums back in the day, but I can't say that I was ever a big massive fan of theirs.
yeah. I
So
know it's hit or miss for most people.
yeah,
Yeah, Bob. See, that's its own thing. But in my opinion, for Dylan, he's really, he quit smoking several years back, and his voice has really come back quite a bit. Um,
mm.
yeah, that was the
Are
that
you
was the,
gonna see? Are you excited for a Complete Unknown movie?
I don't know if I'm excited. I mean, because it's already been pretty much said that it's going to be fictionalized. I mean, even
Right,
with like the love interest, it's a different. It's not Susie Rotolo. Like they gave her like a completely different
right,
name.
right.
Or Sarah Lowndes. That's who it was. But it's going to be cool. I mean, I'm gonna go see it. But
Yeah,
what I'm not ready for is all of the teenage girls that are going to be wearing Bob Dylan shirts, and it's really just a picture of Timothy Chalamet. Like, oh, Bob's so cute. Like, no, that's Timothy Chalamet. But like, that's what I'm afraid of. Um,
I mean, as we've come to learn, we've got to take these biopics with a grain of salt. So
yeah.
yeah,
Let's see. I'll pull up a couple more comments, and then I know
yeah,
you got to get ready for a
yeah.
show here.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, wait. I think Wembley. I think it's 5 dates now. The rumor was that Wembley had 7 dates reserved because they were supposed to.
Yeah.
The whole thing was like they were going to beat Taylor Swift's record at Wembley or something.
Mm,
No, yeah. I mean, Ticketmaster. It's hard to play with the algorithm there.
yeah. Right.
Hey Tanner.
Hey, Tanner.
Yeah, it was Rooney. Yeah, I know Danny did it. I think Danny might have done it twice.
No, I think he was just the for the second tour for
Was it
the
the
night
second
for
one?
the
Okay.
tour. I was the tour 19 that he was the opening act for.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean they were good. They were, you know, they've only got about 4 or 5
Right.
albums, and they kind of disappeared for a few years. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, and that I
Yeah.
mean
Timothy. Yeah.
because it's the same director who did Walk the Line, right?
Walk the Line. Yeah. So and where Joaquin did his own singing on that one as well.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's more
Yeah.
of like the actor's choice or if the director's like, hey,
Yeah.
you got to do it like
Right.
this. But
Yeah.
anyway,
But
I
yeah.
appreciate everybody jumping on this. We had a
Yeah.
bunch of people on various different times, and this is obviously gonna stay up for y'all to watch and kind of skip through if you don't want to see certain things. But I appreciate Tom reaching out and kind of suggesting doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank you,
everybody
Sam.
go.
Yeah, it was.
I was gonna say go subscribe to Tom's podcast, Two Legs. He has a recording tonight. So go check that out if you like your Beatles news. With him and Andy Nichols, they're two really good guys. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, and if you can go see Jeff Lynne. I know Tom and I both probably give it a 2 thumbs up. I mean, if you can if you can, just like Jeff, he's doing this.
Yeah.
Uh,
He did. Yeah, that's right. He did do that a lot.
it's kind of like
That's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great show, and yeah, even if not, check out some of those ELO records you've not heard because
Right.
I mean they've all got gems on them. But Tom,
Yep.
thank you so much, my
Yep.
friend. I hope let's do this
Sam,
again.
really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
man,
We'll do it
a
on.
lot of fun.
We'll do it when I go live on my Two Leg show or something. I'll have you on or something.
Yeah, anytime. I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yep.
right, thank you, everybody.